You are listening to Chesterton Radio at chestertonradio.com.
International Silver Company presents The Silver Theater, starring Ida Lupino and Conrad Nagel in Challenge for Three. Brought to you in behalf of two of the greatest names in silverware, International Sterling, world-famous solid silver, and 1847 Rogers Brothers, America's finest silver plate.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Conrad Nagel, welcoming you to the 13th of the new series of Silver Theater dramatic productions. Among the many great stars you'll hear in future weeks are Leslie Howard, Rita Johnson, Myrna Loy, James Stewart, and Andrea Leeds. Today, we're proud to present lovely Ida Lupino in the Red Book magazine story Challenge for Three by David Garth, adapted for our Silver Theater by True Boardman. Now, as for me, I'm going to do something I've wanted to do ever since I was first named director of Silver Theater. It's my privilege to appear opposite Miss Lupino in today's play. John Conte, will you raise the curtain for us?
Of course, Conrad. And now the lights are being dimmed and the silver curtain is rising on the first act of Challenge for Three, starring Ida Lupino as Elaine Carsden and Conrad Nagel as Jack Pemberton, with William Farnham as Nathaniel Carsden. A huge transatlantic liner has just docked at her pier in New York's Hudson River. And now down the gangplank of first, second, and third class, there comes a throng of passengers, some of them foreigners, eager for their first steps on the soil of a new land, others American citizens, travel-weary and more than glad to be in their own homeland again. But one and all, they're part of that gaiety and confusion that make a liner's arrival a truly exciting event.
All passengers find their baggage, please. Stay with it till it has been checked by customs inspectors. What's the name, miss?
Carsden. Yes, I know, thank you. My things will be in C Division. I've been through all this once or twice before. In fact,
Oh, Elaine.
Jack! Don't tell me you're chairman of the official Let's Go Down and Greet Elaine when she arrives committee.
Chairman and all the members. I headed the reporters and everyone else off by spreading word you'd missed the boat when it left Cherbourg.
Considerate of you. But where's Two Gun? He's all right, isn't he?
Say, that grandfather of yours will be all right when we're old and gray. But he preferred to welcome his far-roving granddaughter at home.
Well, and what about you? Aren't you going to kiss me?
Aren't I what?
Going to kiss me. Or isn't that being done this year by a dignified college professor?
Well, I seem to remember no line about this is so sudden, but far be it from me to use it. Lady, you may consider yourself about to be kissed and welcomed.
I'm considering. I would say I had been kissed, and rather well, too, Mr. Pemberton. Maybe I've been wrong about you.
It's just a possibility.
Pardon me, miss, but are you Miss Carsden?
Yes.
The customs officer is waiting to inspect your baggage.
Oh, yes, that boring business. Come on, Jack.
All right.
Well, Inspector, are you satisfied? You've practically torn my luggage to shreds. You're not very gentle matron to search me personally, and still...
And still we haven't found it, I know.
Well, found what? Why was it necessary to subject Miss Carsden to all this inconvenience, Inspector?
Why? Because Miss Carsden bought the Yuan Jade medallion at the De Lacy Galleries in Paris, that's why.
I, Inspector? Are you sure?
Perfectly, miss. And I'm also sure that you haven't mentioned it here on your declaration.
You couldn't be mistaken about the whole matter, Inspector.
Well, I could be, but I don't think I am, Miss Carsden. I wasn't mistaken last year when you tried to bring in that black opal. As I remember, you paid quite a fine for that oversight of yours.
Oh, did I? I don't recall.
Well, the next time you're caught, it won't be a matter of a fine, even if your grandfather is Nathaniel Carsden.
Are you through now, Inspector? May I take my bag?
Yes, you may, but remember this. It's bad business to fool with the Customs Department.
Well, that's just a matter of opinion, Inspector. Shall we go, Jack?
All right. The car's right out here, Elaine. See, what was that inspector trying to...
Miss Carsden.
Yes?
Very clever. My compliments.
Who are you?
I'm Charles Norroy. We were fellow passengers, don't you remember?
Elaine, is this man a friend of yours?
No.
It's not a bad idea, Miss Carsden. We could be of use to each other. I've never seen a smoother job.
What are you talking about? Wait a minute, Elaine. I'll call an officer.
No, never mind, Jack. Let's just go on.
All right, Miss Carson. But you'll be hearing from me. You can count on that.
Yes, but Elaine, I still can't understand.
Don't do it.
Well, don't do what?
Ask any questions. I mean about all that back at the pier. Because I'd either lie to you or tell you the truth. And in either case, you wouldn't approve.
Yeah, but that man, Nora, he...
Jack. Jack, if I'd asked you to, would you have socked him in the jaw?
What?
No. No, of course you wouldn't. You'd have been content to call a policeman or something and say, Officer, this man is annoying this lady. Oh, if you were only to sock him in the jaw first and then ask questions afterwards type. But you're just not. Of course, I suppose one can't expect too much of a college professor with 5 degrees after his name. Or is it 6? Let's see now. A.B., M.A., L.L.D., Ph.D., D.T.
Never mind my degrees. And as for my not socking your friend in the jaw, of course, I understand your disappointment. It would have made another headline just to sort of round off the trip. Copper heiress tries to swim to Europe. Copper heiress snubs dictator. Copper heiress kisses ambassador. And now Copper heiress's arrival home starts riot. Yes, it would have sort of completed the cycle.
Does it matter to you, Jack Pemberton, that I despise you?
It encourages me.
What would that mean?
Just that you're getting closer to being in love with me. Elementary psychology. Your first step, girl despises man. Next step, girl hates man. Next step, girl loves man.
Loves you? Well, isn't that wonderful? For your information, Professor Jack Pemberton, if and when I ever do fall in love with a man, no, it won't be with someone who calls cops to help a damsel in distress. The man Elaine Carsden marries is going to be a knight in shining armor.
Funny, I always thought they went out with a horse. Somewhat before, in fact. Well, seriously, Elaine, I want to...
Seriously, I'm very anxious to see Two Gun. Do you mind getting me to him?
A pleasure, Miss Carsden, a pleasure.
Oh, Miss Elaine, welcome home.
Hello, Gerald. Where's my grandfather?
In his room, Miss.
Two Gun! Hey!
Oh, no, Miss Elaine, please.
All right, Gerald, if I know Mr. Carsden. You see?
Two Gun!
Oh, but Miss Elaine, you don't understand.
Two Gun, you old... Well, what are you doing in bed? What's the matter with you?
A bunch of crazy doctors. That's all that's the matter with me. Come here. Kiss me.
Oh, Two Gun. Darling, are you sure you're all right?
Well, of course I'm all right. Tell us so, Jack.
Oh, I've done that already.
How was the trip?
Oh,
Don't answer. You haven't made a move since you left that everybody in America hasn't read about in the papers. Young woman, the name of Carsden is supposed to stand for something in this man's country. You're doing your best to make it a laughingstock. Copper heiress, scrubs, dictator, humbug.
The word was snubs, Two Gun, and he had it coming to him. Besides, a girl has to do something for excitement, doesn't she? From what you tell me, grandmother was no shrinking violet. When she was my age, she'd shot 3 Indians, one of them a chief.
When she was your age, she was married, had 4 children.
Uh-oh, now you've got me. Well, let's drop the subject. Jack was
No,
just
we
telling
won't drop
me...
the subject. I'm tired of these escapades of yours. Yes, and I know one way to end them. Beginning today, your allowance stops, and it doesn't start again till you prove that you can behave yourself.
Oh, Two Gun, that's a blow. Well, I guess we'll just have to start living off the swag.
Swag? What's she talking about, Jack? Have you any idea?
You got me.
The proceeds of our adventures in crime, Two Gun. You see, there was a certain jade medallion in Paris, and I bought it. But I didn't feel like paying duty on it. That is, not until I got ready. So with the help of my buddy... Well, between us, we pulled rather a fast one on Uncle Sam's customs offices.
Elaine, are you trying to say that the inspector was right, that you did smuggle in that medallion?
It was only half right, Professor. I brought it over on the boat. But it was you who smuggled it through customs.
Jack.
You're crazy.
Am I? Try looking in your left-hand pocket.
Well, Hey!
You see, Two Gun, the medallion. That just shows you how wrong you can be about people. Professor Jack Pemberton, pillar of the law and of education. To think that you should stoop so low.
Yes, now I understand the sudden demonstration of affection. Jack, aren't you going to kiss me?
It was as easy as that, Two Gun. While Jack was kissing me, I just deposited the medallion safely in his pocket
Never mind
and...
the details. What in tarnation do you mean by breaking the law?
Oh, it's just a gag, Two Gun. I don't care about the money. You've got too much anyway. But it's such a thrill to try to get something past those eagle-eyed inspectors. Especially when they know you have it.
Well, it's a thrill you'll do without. I won't have a Carsden turning criminal.
Criminal nothing. I always pay the duty afterwards and the fine, too. But trying to get something through is such a swell gamble. Why should you have a monopoly on all the gambling blood in the family? Say, have you forgotten the time you bet half the cars in mine on a pair of sevens? Where would you be now if you'd lost?
Better off. My granddaughter wouldn't be rich enough to make a continual fool of herself. In fact...
Two-gun.
Is something wrong, Mr. Carter?
Yes, there's something wrong, and I'm going to fix it.
Well, darling, can I...
You can stay out of this. Jack, when you stopped practicing law to start that history teaching business, that didn't stop you from being a lawyer, did it?
No, sir.
Good. Elaine, get out of here.
But two-gun...
Don't two-gun me. Do as you're told.
Yes, but... Yes, sir.
Now, Jack, don't just stand there. Get on the phone, get notary publics, get witnesses, get everything you need to make this legal.
Well, what are you going to do, sir?
I'm going to teach this harebrained granddaughter of mine what it means to be a Carsden. Money. Yeah, that's what's wrong with her. She's never known what it meant to be without it. Well, I'll fix that, and right now.
Yes, but Mr. Carson, if it's only a matter of cutting her allowance...
Allowance? Cutting that allowance is just the start of it. I'm going to change my will.
Before we bring you the second act of Challenge for Three, may I say just a few words about this Christmas day to which we've all looked forward so eagerly. The day itself is more than half gone, I know. But the happiness and serenity it brought you, the personal joy and delight which you experienced as you opened each gay Christmas package, these, I hope, will remain with you for days to come. We know that Christmas for many of you was made specially thrilling by the gift of beautiful silverware. And whether you received the gleaming loveliness of America's finest silver plate, 1847 Rogers Brothers, or the enduring beauty of solid silver by International Sterling, you can be proud of that gift of silver all your days. For 1847 Rogers Brothers is silver plate created by a distinguished house of more than 90 years' supremacy in silver plate design and craftsmanship. International Sterling Silver is solid silver through and through. Silver of imperishable beauty, created by master craftsmen whose predecessors wrought spoons of solid silver over a century ago. If we of the Silver Theater have had any part, however small, in making it possible for you to have this lasting silver loveliness, we are indeed proud. For fine silverware is truly the gift of gifts for Christmas. Whether you choose solid silver by International Sterling or silver plate by 1847 Rogers Brothers. Several weeks have passed. Jack has gone back to his history teaching at Breton College. Old Nathaniel Carsden has apparently nearly recovered from his illness, while Elaine has gone about the business of being Elaine Carsden, a somewhat more difficult task since Two-Gun has made good his threat to cut off her allowance. But his granddaughter has found other ways to keep going at her usual pace, ways that are known, she believes, only to herself. But as a matter of fact, in an expensive apartment in the upper 70s.
What's behind it all, I don't know. But I've had some of the boys watching her from the day that boat landed, Joe. And Elaine Carsden has been slowly selling everything she owns. Fur coats, bracelets, rings, even her car the other day.
You know, it don't add up. A grandfather with $20 million and she sells her stuff. Why?
It's no concern of ours. The one thing we do care about is that yesterday she unloaded the Yuan medallion. Look.
You got it.
From the dealer she sold it to. Little guy down on 6th Avenue. Didn't know what he bought. It cost me a third what the girl paid for it in Paris.
Well, I knew you'd get it, Noroi. Well, that means the whole business is washed up.
Is it, Joe? I wonder.
Huh? What are you talking about?
Ever hear of the Allardyce necklace?
Well, who hasn't? It's in England. And so hot any customs inspector would spot it 7 miles out.
Well, maybe not. Not if the right person tried to bring it in.
Huh? Say, what is all this?
Do you know who pulled the smoothest smuggling job I've ever seen? An amateur named Elaine Carsden with this little piece of jade. Well, why couldn't she pull just as smooth a job with the Allardyce necklace? That is, if she had the right incentive.
Oh. And all we got to do is to ask her, and she'll go running over to London and bring it back for us, huh? You're crazy.
Am I? We'll see. Elaine Carsden left 3 hours ago for Brenton, Connecticut. That's where this fellow Pemberton teaches in college.
Pemberton? Oh, he's the one who helped her pull the medallion job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she's gone up there to see him, but she's due back in town tonight. Have one of our boys on hand to meet her at the station when she arrives.
Yeah? And then what?
Then? Just bring it to me. Unless I'm wrong about a number of things, from then on, it should be easy.
I seem too insistent. But if it's true that you are Professor Pemberton's secretary, will you please tell him that I want to see him?
He's busy, teaching a class. Can't be disturbed.
My dear young woman,
I said Professor Pemberton's busy. And he doesn't want to see you even if he ain't. Isn't.
Oh, he don't, doesn't he? And who says so, may I ask?
I do, Miss Elaine Carsden.
And who are you? And how do you know who I am? I think I've had enough of this. Professor Pemberton's classroom is in there, isn't it?
You keep out of there.
If I were you, I wouldn't try to stop me.
Hey, now, you... Quiet.
Now, this is to be remembered, class. The one individual who has exerted the greatest influence on modern history, both here and abroad, is undoubtedly Elaine. I didn't see you come in. That is, class is dismissed.
Jack, I'm awfully sorry to disturb your class, but I've been waiting there in your office for 2 hours.
I told her, Jack. Professor, I told her you were busy.
Look, Connie, if I'm ever not busy, it's when Miss Carsden wants to see me. Please remember that.
Oh. Okay. I mean, very well, sir.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Is she your secretary or your watchdog?
You mean you don't recognize her?
Recognize her?
Yeah, about a year ago, a girl named Elaine Carsden went on a slumming party to night court. There was a burlesque dancer on trial, couldn't pay her fine. Copper heiress to the rescue. And then with that unfailing sense of humor of yours, you sent the girl up here to me to get her away from some racketeers who were after something equally melodramatic.
You mean that this
Exactly.
girl...
The Sherry Duval that was has become the Constance Dawson that is. From burlesque queen to secretary in 6 not-so-easy lessons. Not so easy for me, that is.
Jack, I can't believe it. It was all just a gag. I never dreamed you'd let the girl stay up here.
No, neither did I. That was her idea. A very determined young woman, Miss Constance Dawson.
And that explains everything, why she didn't want to let me see you. Jack, this is wonderful. The girl's in love with you.
Oh, nonsense. She's merely grateful because I helped her find a job. Oh, but never mind her. It's great to see you, Elaine. How's Two Gun?
Worlds better. In fact, I'm here as his official representative. What's all this about your being appointed to some international commission or other?
That's right. Yeah, I leave for Paris in 6 weeks.
Oh, that's pretty important for you, isn't it?
Well, just about the most important thing that ever happened to me. It's the first step to a diplomatic job.
I'm awfully glad for you, Jack. So's Two Gun. In fact, he wants to stage a celebration dinner for you at the townhouse Saturday night. How about it? Do you think Connie will let you come?
Gee, I'd like to see her stop me. Oh, it isn't a costume party by any chance, is it?
Oh, no, of course not.
Oh, too bad. I was thinking of getting myself a suit of shining armor.
Oh.
Look, Elaine, this new job makes rather a difference about things.
Don't say any more, Jack.
I'm still not quite the type, that it?
Well, maybe that's it, or maybe we've known each other too long. Or maybe I'm just plain crazy. Probably some of all three.
I see. Well, no chance of a lady changing her mind inside of 6 weeks.
I'm afraid not. Goodbye, Jack.
Elaine? Well, I always thought a girl kissed a man just after she said she did love him, not after she said she didn't.
Funny, so did I. Well, I've got to run now. I just have time to make my train. We'll expect you Saturday night. Goodbye, Jack. Oh, and my loves to Connie.
Goodbye, Elaine.
Well, Professor, now that Miss Millions is gone, maybe you can start.
Yes. Speaking. New York City? Oh, put them on. Hello. Oh, hello, Gerald. No, she just left. What? Good Lord. I'll try to catch her at the station here. Yes, in any case, I'll be right down myself within 2 hours. Goodbye.
Hey, Jack, where you going?
For Elaine, I've got to catch her.
But, Jack, you got more classes. 3 of them.
You take them, Connie.
Hello. I guess you're Mabel.
Well, you'd better try another guess, because I'm not Mabel.
Huh? Oh, excuse me, miss. You see, I was supposed to meet a girl who was coming in on this train. I guess she missed it or something.
That's very interesting. I'm so sorry for both of you, but I must...
Wait a minute. Wait, don't get me wrong. Say, I wasn't trying to be fresh or anything. You see, this Mabel...
I'm really terribly interested in Mabel, but it happens I have an appointment and
sure. Here, let me call you a taxi.
No, don't bother.
Hey, you over there, taxi.
Well, thank you. And I do hope you find Mabel.
Oh, I'll find her, all right. Driver, take this lady wherever she wants to go. She's a sort of friend of mine.
I get it. Sure. Hop in, lady.
Take me to the Waldorf, will you?
A Waldorf? Right.
Driver, you misunderstood me. I don't want to go uptown. I said the Waldorf.
Sorry, lady. My mistake.
Driver, you're still going in the wrong direction.
Oh, you must be wrong, lady.
Let me out of this cab or I'll...
You'll do nothing, but sit where you are, Miss Carsden.
Oh. So it's like that.
Yeah.
Guns and everything. I get the general idea. Ever hear of the kidnapping laws, mister?
I ain't worrying.
Well, where are you taking me? Or isn't the victim supposed to ask that question?
You'll find out, and soon enough.
Oh, Miss Carsden. Come in. We were expecting you. That'll do, Al.
Right, Chief.
Won't you sit down? Oh, pardon me. My associate, Mr. Turgott, Miss Elaine Carsden.
Howdy, miss.
Would you care for a drink?
Well, this is the most formal kidnapping I was ever invited to.
Oh, but it isn't a kidnapping.
Perhaps I'm wrong.
You are. Don't you remember me?
No, why should I?
We were fellow passengers coming back from Europe last month. If you recall, I spoke to you just as you came through the customs barrier.
Oh, I see. Well, would you mind coming to the point of all this?
I'll say we wouldn't. You're going to start working for us.
Joe, please.
Huh?
Leave this to me.
Oh, yeah.
Miss Carsden, it so happens that we have proof that you smuggled the Yuan medallion into this country. I myself and two of my friends can testify that we saw you do it.
Interesting. But as I recall, the customs officers have some strange ideas about that medallion, too. And somehow they couldn't find it. As a matter of fact, it isn't even in this country.
No? Then what would you call this?
Well, I was wrong. Someone else must have brought it in. You yourself, perhaps, Mr...
No, Roy. Yeah, but I didn't.
I'll say you didn't. You sold that medallion yesterday to a dealer on 6th Avenue. We got a record of the sale.
And?
And we thought perhaps you might like this medallion back, Miss Carsden, and you're welcome to it. On one very small condition.
Well?
You are, as I said before, the smoothest operator I've ever seen. Now, it so happens there's a certain necklace in England that Mr. Turgott and I would like to get into the States without its being discovered by customs.
The answer is no.
Oh, but I haven't explained
You've explained enough. I won't do it. I brought in the medallion, yes. That was to see if I could. It was fun for me. But I'm not going into the business.
No? Well, maybe we got other ideas. What's to stop us from turning that medallion over to customs and telling them how it got into this country?
Go ahead.
As I remember, you were fined for a similar offense once before, Miss Carsden. This would probably mean a jail sentence.
I don't care. Go ahead. Tell them. Tell them anything you want to. But I'm still not smuggling any necklaces from England.
All right. Well, it's apt to be a little rough on him, that's all.
On who? What are you talking...
That friend of yours, Jack Pemberton.
Now, wait a minute. Jack didn't have anything to do with this.
No. My witnesses and I think differently.
Yeah. And we can only testify to what we saw.
Listen, Mr. Norrie. You can't involve Jack Pemberton in this. He's been...
I know. He was just appointed to some government commission. And a smuggling charge might make a difference.
All right. How much?
How much?
Of course, you're not serious about my smuggling that necklace. You want money. How much?
Oh, you're wrong. I'm perfectly serious about the necklace job. But on the other hand, we don't want to be unreasonable. If your conscience is bothering you, we could probably forget the whole thing for just what our profit would be if you worked with us. Say, $50,000.
I haven't got that much.
No, but that grandfather of yours has.
But I can't ask him for it. You don't understand.
It's one thing or the other, Miss Carsden. That's just the way it is.
And if I do get the money from my grandfather, how do I know that that's the end of this?
You'll have the medallion, Miss Carsden. That will automatically end it. Well?
How long will you give me?
Suppose we say 24 hours.
I'll get it. Two Gun won't let me down.
What's that?
Miss Carsden was just saying that she'll get the money, Joe. And somehow I have an idea she will.
Oh, Miss Elaine.
Gerald, I have to see my grandfather right away.
Miss Elaine, don't you know?
No, what?
We've been trying to find you every place. Mr. Pemberton just...
Elaine, where have you been?
Jack, it's Two Gun.
Yes. Gerald phoned just after you left up there. It's his heart again.
Well, he's all right, isn't he?
No, Elaine, this time he's not all right. I talked with Dr. Parsons, and apparently all that's kept your grandfather alive this long was his determination to see you.
Oh, Jack, but I have to ask him for...
Yes?
Nothing that matters. Can I go right into him?
Of course.
Two Gun. Two-Gun. Jack, he's...
No, wait. Mr. Carsden?
Eh? Oh. Elaine. Got here, did you? About time.
Oh, Two-Gun. Darling, I didn't
Quit
know...
crying. No nonsense. When it's time, it's time. Guess I know that. Got something to tell you. Then I'm ready.
Don't talk, Two-Gun. You need your strength.
Shut up. Listen. My will, Elaine. I changed it. Jack, tell her.
Now, sir?
Now.
But, Two-Gun, I don't care about your will.
Shut up. Go on, Jack.
Well, your grandfather changed his will, Elaine, the day you came back from Europe. You're still principal heir to the Carsden estates, but you're not to receive them for 10 years. In the meantime, you'll have to live on an income of $100 a month. If you try to borrow ahead, you'll lose everything. I'm to administer the estate and see that the provisions of the will are carried out.
Well, what do you think of it?
It's up to you, Two-Gun.
Want you to know why. Crazy for men to leave things in the will and not tell why. Jack.
Yes, sir?
Get out of here.
All right, Two-Gun. And good night.
Good night, nothing. So long.
So long, sir.
Elaine,
Yes, Two-Gun.
10 years ought to do it. Make a real Carsden out of you. My fault. I loved you too much. Should have licked you. That's what this is. Kind of a licking. Get it?
Yes, I get it.
Pretty good name, Carsden, youngster. Want you to learn that. Think you can?
I know I can.
That's all. Better go on now.
But, Two-Gun...
Asleep. And alone. That's the way I want it. Go on.
All right. Good night, darling.
Good night. Elaine,
Yes, Two-Gun.
I'm betting on you. Remember that? I'm betting on you.
I'll remember.
Elaine.
Oh, Jack. Jack, it can't be this way. I should be in there with him.
No, this is the way he wants it, Elaine.
I'm betting on you. Remember that?
Oh, Two-Gun.
I'm betting on you.
Two-Gun. Jack, he's... Jack.
Be with us again next Sunday for the thrilling conclusion of Challenge for Three, when Ida Lupino as Elaine Carsden and Conrad Nagel as Jack Pemberton are forced to choose between the penalties of federal law and the vengeance of organized crime. There will be more original music scored and conducted by Felix Mills. And now, the sponsors of Silver Theater, our director, Conrad Nagel, the whole cast, and I hope sincerely that this has been a grand Christmas day for each and every one of you, that the packages under your Christmas tree brought you exactly what you wanted, and that the few remaining hours will be full of real Christmas joy and happiness. And remember, if you were given 1847 Rogers Brothers silver plate this Christmas, you were given America's finest silver plate. If you received international sterling silver, you received world-famous solid silver, both proudly created by International Silver Company. All the characters and events in today's drama were purely fictional. Ida Lupino has just completed an important Columbia picture, which will be announced soon. John Conte speaking. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is Chesterton Radio, your home for podcasts of works by G.K. Chesterton, plus drama, comedy, mystery, science fiction, big bands, and much more. The soundtrack to your Chesterton day at chestertonradio.com.
International Silver Company presents The Silver Theater, starring Ida Lupino and Conrad Nagel in Challenge for Three. Brought to you in behalf of two of the greatest names in silverware, International Sterling, world-famous solid silver, and 1847 Rogers Brothers, America's finest silver plate.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Conrad Nagel welcoming you to the 14th of the new series of Silver Theater Dramatic Productions. Next week, you'll hear Leslie Howard and Rita Johnson. And in future weeks, Myrna Lloyd, James Stewart, Andrea Leeds, and others. Today, we're proud to again present lovely Ida Lupino in the concluding episode of the Red Book magazine story Challenge for Three by David Garth, adapted for our Silver Theater by True Boardman. Again, it's my privilege to play Jack Pemberton opposite Miss Lupino's Elaine Carsden. John Conte, will you raise the curtain for us?
Of course, Conrad. And now lights are being dimmed, and the silver curtain is rising on today's concluding chapter of Challenge for Three. Several weeks have passed since the death of Nathaniel Carsden, pioneer copper magnate. And in the library of the Carsden home, Elaine, his granddaughter, sits, surrounded by relatives and trusted servants, listening as Jack Pemberton, young attorney and college professor, finishes reading old Nathaniel's will.
Keeper of the country estate, the sum of $3,000. To Arthur Gerald, my personal valet and butler, the sum of $10,000. And to any and all servants not herein mentioned who have served me for a period exceeding 6 months, the sum of $1,000 each. That's all perfectly clear to everyone?
Perfectly, Mr. Pemberton, perfectly. I'm sure that we all agree that dear Nathaniel provided handsomely, not only for those of us related to him by blood, but for those who have served him faithfully as well.
That's right, Mr. Pemberton. And I know I speak for all the servants when I say we're grateful.
Elaine, there's nothing you wish to question. I mean it's all perfectly satisfactory to you so far?
Of course, Jack, go ahead.
Right. All of the above bequests having been made, the...
Miss Elaine, forgive me, miss, but it's most urgent.
Yes, Gerald?
It's that Mr. Norroy again. I told him I couldn't disturb you now, but he said to tell you that he wouldn't come again. That you would know what that means, miss.
But All right, Gerald, ask him to wait. I'll see him when this is over.
Very good, miss.
Elaine, there's nothing wrong?
No, of course not. I'm so sorry, Jack. Please go ahead.
All right. All of the above bequests having been made, the remainder of my holdings are to be converted into cash and held in trust for my beloved granddaughter, Elaine Natalie Carsden. She is not, however, to inherit the bulk of said fund for 10 years from the day of my death, nor may she in any way borrow against said fund. And in the meantime, she shall receive only the sum of exactly $100 per month from my estate.
Why, Elaine, that's absurd. $100 a month.
Please, Aunt Elvia, let Mr. Pemberton finish. Go on, Jack.
Well, Elaine, perhaps you'd better read the rest of it yourself.
Why? All right, Jack. Furthermore, this provision has not been made without due and careful thought. It was the will of a higher power than ours that mine should be the duty of raising my granddaughter to womanhood. And I see now, as I make this my last testament, that I have partly failed in my duty. I failed in that I loved her so much, I never gave her a chance to achieve a true and deep understanding of life. Thus, this provision in my will, the only thing I can leave to Elaine that should, if she's a true Carsden, bring her the happiness I desire for her. And I'm betting on it. I want her to remember that. Well, that's all of it.
Well, I say it's absurd.
Now, Elvia.
Don't interrupt me. I say it's absurd. What is this 10-year nonsense, Mr. Pemberton? Nathaniel never mentioned it to me.
Well, that's quite understandable. He just decided on that clause a short time before his death, Miss Carsden.
I say Elaine should fight it, and all the rest of us should back her up.
Well, I won't. I won't contest a word of that will. I knew that Two Gun had put this in the will. He told me so. And he also told me why. Now, would you mind going now, all of you?
Oh, now, Elaine, you're just upset and not thinking clearly. After all, there are times when I haven't exactly approved of your carryings on myself. Carrying all over the place, getting your name in the papers. But when it comes to letting $10 million sit in the bank while you live on $100 a month, well...
Now, please, Aunt Elvira, it's all right. You see, Two-Gun was convinced that I wasn't a real Carsden. He thought this might make me one. Perhaps he was right. Anyway, I'm going to try and find out.
Well, all I can say is that you insist on being foolish and sentimental. I suppose it's your own funeral. Come, Marvin.
Yeah? Oh, yes, dear. I'm sorry, Elaine.
It's all right, Uncle Marvin. Goodbye.
Goodbye, dear.
Elaine,
Yes, Jack.
you were pretty swell about all this.
Was I?
I'm proud of you.
I'm glad.
Elaine, what's wrong? Why not tell me? These last few weeks, of course, I know you've been upset about Two-Gun, but there's been more than that. Something I can't quite figure out. What is it, Elaine? You know I'd like to help you.
That commission or whatever it is, Jack, for the government, leaves soon now, doesn't it? For Paris, I mean.
Yes, the end of the week, but
It's
that...
going to be so swell for you, I'm sure of it.
Elaine, why don't you answer my question?
Your pardon, Miss Elaine, but Mr. Norroy, you haven't forgotten.
No, of course not, Gerald. Jack, would you mind going along now? I have an appointment.
Norroy. I've heard that name before. Who is he?
You don't know him. Go on, Jack, please.
This fellow has something to do with whatever it is that's been upsetting you, hasn't he?
Now, please, Jack, you've got to keep out of this. Take my word
But,
for it.
Elaine, I...
You're executor of the Carsden estate, but you're not running my personal affairs, and I want to see Mr. Norroy alone.
All right. Of course. Goodbye, Elaine.
Goodbye, Jack. Gerald, tell the gentleman I'll see him now. Come in.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad you finally decided to see me, Miss Carsden.
Didn't leave me very much choice. Well?
Well, first of all, about your grandfather, naturally,
Look, would you be good enough to leave Mr. Carsden out of this?
Oh, I'm sorry. I only wanted you to understand that even in my business we have sensibilities. We were more than willing to drop the matter of the medallion for a while
Until now. Yes, I understand. And now you've come to remind me that you can prove I smuggled the yuan medallion into this country. And that to keep you from telling the customs department about it, I must either help you smuggle the Allardyce necklace in from England or pay you $50,000.
Well, you seem to have all the facts pretty well marshaled. Yeah, it's good of you to make it so easy for me.
I'll make it still easier. I'm not going to do either one, Mr. Norroy.
Oh, I see. Well, it's too bad.
What you really want from me is money. Well, it so happens I haven't any. $100 a month for 10 years. That's my entire income, according to the terms of my grandfather's will. And I can't borrow against the estate in advance.
Really? Well, it would seem now that you no longer have an alternative.
If you mean by that I'm going to work with you and your friend Mr. Turgot, help you to smuggle in that necklace, you're wrong.
That's exactly what I mean.
Well, I'm not. I smuggled things into this country, yes. That yuan medallion, for instance. But I did it for fun to see if I could get away with it.
Really? Well, my witnesses don't look at it that way. They think that what they saw was the working out of a definite plan. A plan between you and your friend Jack Pemberton.
You know that's not true.
No? Heiress returns from Europe. Young college professor meets her on dock before she's undergone customs inspection. She slips valuable medallion into his pocket. And he doesn't know? I'm afraid it makes me laugh, Miss Carsden. Just as it would make a jury laugh.
Yes, but don't you see, if you involve Jack in this,
They'd probably ask him to resign from that international commission he's been appointed to. I know. That would be unfortunate.
Mr. Norroy, please. Find someone else to help you on this necklace job. I can't do it. For a lot of reasons I wouldn't expect you to understand. Please.
I'm sorry, Miss Carsden. I'd like to be agreeable, but there's no one else we could find with either your intelligence or your social connections. And in a case like this, both are invaluable. I'll run along now, but about 4 tomorrow afternoon, I'll be calling on the chief customs inspector with an interesting story about the yuan medallion. That is, unless in the meantime you make up your mind to stop me. Goodbye, Miss Carsden. I hope it isn't too long before I see you again. You know where to reach me.
Well, Grandfather, you seem to have managed to leave a girl pretty much on the spot. So you were betting on me. That's swell. That's wonderful.
Elaine.
Jack, you didn't go.
With that fellow here and you feeling about him as I know you do, of course I didn't go. Elaine, will you listen to me?
Jack, don't ask me any questions, but do you really want to help me?
Do you have to ask that?
Is your car here?
Of course, outside.
Let's get anything right. I don't care where. It's just that I've got to think something through. Now, remember, Two-Gun said once he could always think at least twice as clear with the wind in his face. So I'm going to find out if he was right.
Mind if we stop here a moment?
What? Oh, no, of course not.
You know, I've always been pretty sold on this view from up here. Especially this time of year.
Mm-hmm, it's lovely.
Well? How about it? Was Two-Gun right? Is whatever it was all cleared up now?
Oh, I don't know, Jack.
Because if it isn't, I think I know a pretty good solution.
Do you?
Elaine, darling, I know it's pretty soon to speak of this, but somehow I don't think Two-Gun would mind, and... Well, as I told you once before, this commission appointment of mine rather makes a difference. I do wish you'd marry me and come to Paris with me, Elaine. Well, you need more wind in your face to think of an answer to that one?
Oh, Jack, I don't know. Haven't been thinking about us somehow.
Of course, I haven't forgotten what you said about wanting the man you marry to be a knight in shining armor, but... Well, I had an idea that maybe my turning diplomat might make me eligible.
Maybe it will later on. You know, you've been the Rock of Gibraltar these last few weeks.
But not now, eh?
Not now?
Now when there's something really worrying you, you won't let me help.
Well, it's just that there's nothing you can do, Jack.
I could do a swell job of trying.
But, well, look. Do you remember what Two Guns said about wanting me to be a real Carsden?
Yes.
Well, a real Carsden, what he meant by one, couldn't become a criminal, could she? I mean, just go out and intentionally break the law.
Of course not.
But on the other hand, that same real Carsden wouldn't mess up somebody else's life. Somebody that was fond of them. In love with them even, would she?
No, I don't suppose she'd do that either.
So you see, that's it. That's why you can't help, Jack.
Elaine, please, will you stop talking in circles and tell me what this is all about? What does that fellow Norrie to do with it? Why is it a case of honesty against loyalty? Loyalty to whom?
That's it, Jack. Honesty against loyalty. That's what I have to decide. And I think I have decided.
Elaine.
You can start that now. I think I know what I'm going to do. It still comes a long ways from being Two Guns' idea of a Carsden. I'll bet if he'd ever been on the same kind of a spot, he'd have made the same decision. Anyway, Two Guns, I hope I'm right.
Before we bring you the concluding act of Challenge for Three, starring Ida Lupino and Conrad Nagel, may I suggest an easy way for many of you to turn a Christmas gift into a New Year's resolution. A week ago, many of you I know became proud owners of your first sterling silver. You received International Sterling's stunning Me to You set. And having seen with your own eyes the rich, lustrous beauty of this exquisite solid silver, now more than ever, you long for a complete service of solid silver. So why not, this New Year's Day, resolve that you'll get that complete service? That little by little, during 1939, you'll add extra matching pieces to that Christmas Me to You set. Resolve, for example, to get another Me to You set every month. It only costs $16.75, and by getting one set a month, you'll have a solid silver service adequate for simple entertaining in practically no time. Or perhaps you can afford more pieces at once. Then go to your silverware dealer and talk with him. He'll be delighted to help you make your selection and to tell you about International Sterling's convenient budget payment plan, whereby you too can easily achieve your heart's desire. A complete service of solid silver by International Sterling. Once again, the lights are being dimmed, and the silver curtain is rising on the concluding act of Challenge for Three, starring Ida Lupino and Conrad Nagel. It is early the following morning at the Carsden home. Gerald, the butler, is in a heated argument with Connie Dawson, formerly a burlesque dancer, but more recently Jack Pemberton's secretary. At the moment, Connie is decidedly vehement.
I don't care if it is 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm here to see Elaine Carsden, and I'm going to see her. Now.
But my dear young lady.
And I'm not your dear young lady. Look,
But Miss Carsden is asleep.
I tell you that doesn't matter. This is important enough to...
What's wrong out here? Oh, Miss Dawson.
Asleep, is she? I'll say she ain't. Isn't. And I'll bet she ain't been asleep all night any more than Jack's been.
What are you talking about? Where is Jack?
I don't know. But the last I saw of him last night, he was just about that. Worrying about you. That's why I'm here.
You may go, Gerald.
Yes, miss.
After he left you last night, Jack came to the office. He's got a lot of important work he's supposed to do. But does he do it? He does not. He goes on for hours about you being in some kind of trouble. And all I can get out of him is junk about honesty versus loyalty and being a true Carsden, whatever that means.
Connie, look, I appreciate you being interested,
Now,
but
listen. That time I was up in night court because the show I was in got pinched. And I couldn't pay my fine. You helped me out, didn't you? You got me off and then sent me up to Jack's place and told him to take care of me. You thought it was funny for a college professor in a small town to have a burlesque dancer on his hands. But gag or not to you, it worked out okay for little me, see? You helped me out, so now I'm paying off by helping you.
That's more than generous of you, Connie, but there's nothing you can do.
Listen there. What's Norroy got to do with this?
Norroy? Well, how did you know he was...
That's the one thing Jack said last night that made any sense. That he thought a guy named Norroy was mixed up in what's worrying you. Well, is he?
I suppose he is, Connie.
Listen, in case you don't remember, my name used to be Cherie DeVault. 8 years I worked in burlesque joints and nightclubs. I know a bunch of people and places that are another world to you. And one of the people I know was Norroy. Now come clean with me. Man to man.
All right, Connie. But Jack mustn't know this.
Okay. I'm a walking plan. Shoot.
Well, when I came back from Europe last month, I brought a jade medallion with me. And I smuggled it through customs by slipping it into Jack's pocket when he met me at the dock.
Yeah, was smart. Go on.
Well, this man Norroy and some friends of his saw me do it. Now they threatened to turn the case over to customs.
They'll let them. They can't prove it.
But they can. You see, I sold the medallion because I was short of money. Norroy bought it.
God. But why keep all this from Jack?
Well, because this new appointment of his means everything to him. I don't want him to lose it.
Lose it? But I don't...
Remember, I put the medallion in Jack's pocket. Norroy and his friends say they'll testify that Jack and I were working together.
I get it. You see, you did fix up a pretty mess of fish. Well, what are you going to do?
There's only one thing I can do. Norroy wants me to work for him, to bring in a certain necklace from England, the Allardyce it's called. He swears that if I do that, he'll give me back the jade medallion and forget the whole business. I'm going to do it.
Are you crazy? You mean you believe that guy, Norroy?
Well, what else can I do and keep Jack out of it?
Hey, wait a minute. You're awful concerned about Jack all of a sudden.
Well, maybe I am.
So it's like that, huh? Well, I guess the laugh's on me.
What do you mean, Connie?
Nothing. Just making sounds. Oh, but let's figure this out. You know where Norroy lives?
Yes.
Well, there's probably about 6 warrants out for the guy under about 8 different aliases. But tipping off the law twin still wouldn't get you in the clear. As long as he has that medallion... Wait a minute.
What?
That medallion. That's all they got on you. I mean, without that, they couldn't prove nothing. Anything.
But the point is they do have
Here's the answer.
What?
How much nerve have you got?
Well, I guess I've got my share.
That's what it'll take. Now, look, here's the thing for you to do. Listen, you go to these guys, see, and tell them it's okay. Tell them you decided to work with them just as they want. But all the time you're just waiting for a chance to get your hands on that medallion. It might take a day or it might take a month. But if you play your cards right, sooner or later the chance will come. And once you've got the medallion away from them, you're in the clear. And Jack, too. They can't do a thing.
Now, don't try to lie to me, Connie. I talked to the butler on the phone, and he said that you'd come there at 7 o'clock this morning and insisted on seeing Elaine.
Well, what if I did? She did me a favor once. Why shouldn't I help her out?
You help her out?
Yes, me. This is once where my kind of education is better than yours, Professor.
Now, look, Connie Dawson, you're going to tell me the truth. Have you any idea what it means to be in love with somebody?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I've got an idea.
Well, in case it's news to you, I'm in love with Elaine Carsden. And if she's in some kind of trouble, I'm going to be the one to get her out of it.
Yeah, but... Well, listen. Which is more important to you? Her or that new job of yours?
That's a crazy question. Elaine, of course.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. Okay, Jackie boy. I'll tell you where she is and why. And then keep my fingers crossed when it all comes out straight. Anyway, it'll give you your chance to be that guy in shining armor. Worse luck.
Connie, will you please tell me what you...
Okay, it's like this. Elaine is going this morning to the place up on 73rd Street where this fellow Norroy and his partner Turgot have their headquarters. You see, Norroy and Turgot...
Who did you say?
That Carsden gal. She's been waiting inside for about an hour. Said she was sure you and Norroy was expecting her.
Yeah? Swell. Norroy knows she's here?
No, he ain't been around yet.
Okay.
Mr. Turgot, begun to wonder if you weren't coming.
Sure. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. So you decided to see things our way, did you?
Well, you see, my grandfather cut me off with an income of $100 a month.
No. Well, if that ain't a raw deal.
That's exactly the way I feel. Which is one reason I was more than ready to work with you and Mr. Norroy. He said something about a 3-way split.
Yeah? Well, him and me hadn't talked about that part of it.
You know, when I first realized you and Mr. Norroy knew about that jade medallion job I tried to do, I was pretty upset about it. Now I'm glad things worked out just the way they have.
Yeah, this little piece of green stuff has come in handy for all of us.
Oh, you have it here? Well, then maybe it won't be necessary to wait for Mr. Norroy.
Wait for him?
Surely he phoned you about it. You see, when we agreed to work together, I told him about some friends of mine that I thought might buy that medallion. At a good price, too.
Who are they?
Some people named Kendall.
Yeah?
Only they're leaving for South America tonight. But I thought you knew. Oh, of course, we can wait for Mr. Norroy if you prefer, but it would be smarter for me to take the medallion and go right over there. Then one of you could meet me afterwards and I
Now,
could...
look. You don't really think I'm going to give you this trinket and just let you walk out of here with it, do you?
Why not? Oh, surely. Surely you don't think I'd have come here alone unless I really intended to work with you. But of course I can understand your suspicions. Suppose we both go then. My only concern is that we see the Kendalls before they leave.
Well, okay. We do it that way then, but I keep the medallion till we get there.
Of course. You can wait in the car while I take it into them. Let's be on our way.
Sure. I'll just grab my coat and we'll be... Oh, Nora, you got here just in time.
Well, Miss Cousin, I'm delighted.
I'll wait downstairs.
What's the rush?
I can wait in the car.
Wait for who?
Let me pass.
It's okay, Nora, it's okay. Miss Carson and me was just going to ride over to see these friends of hers she told you about, you know, on the medallion deal.
What friends? And what deal?
What do you mean, what she told you? Oh. So that's what the score is.
Better sit down, Miss Cousin.
No, thanks.
Some friends that buy the medallion, and you take it to them and meet one of us afterwards,
Let me handle it, Turner.
No, you've been handling it long enough. I'll start taking over now. Listen, Miss Elaine Carson.
Let go of my
You
arm.
can't get that medallion alone, so you're going to take me along with it. Where? What was the rest of it?
Well, I hadn't figured that far ahead.
I'll say you hadn't, and there's some other things you hadn't figured on.
Take it easy, Turner.
Shut up, Nora. I'm going to... Watch it.
Well?
Oh, pardon me, but is this... Hello, Elaine.
The professor.
Come in. Come in, Mr. Pemberton.
Jack, you shouldn't have come here.
How'd you get inside?
Well, there was no one to stop me, so I just walked in.
Huh? Where's Al?
Hold it, Turkett. Who came with you, Mr. Pemberton?
With me? Why, naturally, under the circumstances, I came alone.
Eh? Well, I don't like the look of this. We're getting out of here now, and we're taking you two along with us.
Getting out of here? But didn't Elaine tell you what we decided?
Jack.
What you decided?
Yes, you see, Elaine and I talked this over last night, and... Well, we found the one sensible solution to the whole business.
Jack, listen to
Never
me.
mind. Let him finish.
It's really quite an ingenious plan. Of course, I can understand Elaine's trying to back out of the whole thing. She's objected from the first to involving me any deeper in all this. But you see, I've tried to tell her...
Whatever
that
your
my
point is,
position
Pemberton,
on-
get down to it. This isn't a classroom, you know.
Jack, why didn't you stay out of this?
Hey, forget all this. Let's get out of here.
But wait, Mr. Target.
Huh?
You want that necklace. What is it? The Allardyce. Well, let me ask you, who would have a better chance of bringing it in than a member of an international commission?
Jack.
Huh? And why should you bring it in?
Why? Well, I'll be frank. I happen to be very fond of Miss Carsden, and I'd like to get her out of this. So if you'll give us your word that you'll turn the Yuan medallion over to her in return for the Allardyce necklace, I'll bring it back from England. Is it a bargain?
A very smooth one, Pemberton. And how can we know you'll follow through on it?
Well, what choice have I? As long as you have the medallion, it's a threat to Miss Carsden and to myself.
Hey, listen, Nora, are we going to...
Now, wait a minute. You both have to admit that I'm the only one here who isn't already under suspicion. And I seem to remember an old legal quotation which goes, semper fidelis caveat emptor.
Huh? Hey, never mind the fancy talk, Professor. We can do with less of that than more... Turkett, listen. So there was no one to stop you outside, huh? Al! Hey, block. Yeah? So you have to talk slow, do you, Professor?
Yeah, but not now.
Norroy! Hey, Norroy! Help me, will you?
That door. Close it.
Oh, no, you don't. Get back there. Now, Turkett, get away from me, you fool, so I can make a shot at him. Hey, Norroy, look out. The girl. She got...
Oh, Jack, quick, grab the gun.
All right, now, you two. Get back against that wall. Come on. Open the outside door, Elaine.
Jack!
All right, break this up in here. Well, I guess it is broken up.
Jack, are you all right?
Yes, Connie. Except I'm about talked to death. 5 minutes more and I'd have run out of lecture. I thought you'd never get him here.
These are the men, are they, Mr. Pemberton?
Yes, and that other one out there in the hall.
All right, take them out, Thompson. You heard him, you two.
I suppose you think the sense the matter, Miss Carsden?
She knows it does, Norroy. Or she will when I tell her. You see, the customs inspector knows all about the Yuan medallion. But he's sure his department can afford to be lenient with the people who help the authorities find you and Mr. Target. We'll pay the duty on it, and that will be the end of the matter.
All right, come on, move along. The inspector said you and the lady would be down to headquarters to straighten this out.
Yes, that's right. You can go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I would say the Marines had landed and had the situation well in hand.
The Army, Navy, and Marines.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's time for the Marines to be moving along and leaving the Army and Navy to fight it out.
Thanks, Connie. I'd never have found you, Elaine, if it hadn't been for her.
Yes, Connie, it was awfully swell of you.
Swell? Oh, it was dumb. But I always had a weakness that way. So long, you two.
So long, Connie.
What'd you call me?
Connie?
Next. Cherie. Cherie DeVault. Connie Dawson did a fade-out when you stopped needing a secretary, and she is... pardon me. She ain't coming back.
Oh, Jack.
Yeah.
Jack, you're...
Elaine, you were crazy to come here. Do you know that?
What about you?
Well, isn't there an old saying about fools rushing in where angels don't fear to tread?
That's all backwards. So's the whole business. You, darling, in that fight you weren't a conservative college professor. You were... Jack, you were that knight in shining armor.
Well, anyway, that was the idea.
In a few minutes, Ida Lupino and Conrad Nagel will come back for a personal word with you. But before they do, would you permit me to make a friendly suggestion to every woman who received a check for Christmas? Make that check last a lifetime. Take it to your nearest silverware dealer and exchange it for the lasting loveliness of 1847 Rogers Brothers silver plate. For this is the silver plate that bears the design prestige of the most famous craftsmen in America. And right now you can get this finest of silver plate at substantial savings. For example, take 1847 Rogers Brothers Silver Theater set. This beautiful 62-piece service in handsome rosewood finish cabinet is priced specially at $59.75, a saving of more than $14 over open stock price. And it comes in many different patterns, among them the popular and thrillingly new pattern First Love. First Love, you know, is 1847 Rogers Brothers' greatest achievement in silver plate design. A pattern whose floral ornament is richly raised and deeply etched in a type of craftsmanship never before available, save in sterling silver. Learn from your silverware dealer how easily and on what convenient terms this stunning silver plate can be yours. And resolve for 1939 to own America's finest silver plate, 1847 Rogers Brothers. And now back to our director, Conrad Nagel, who's escorting Ida Lupino out in front of the silver curtain to meet you in person.
Thank you, John Conte. Well, Ida, after being behind the scenes all these weeks, I can't begin to tell you how grand it's been working with you in a dramatic role. You know, you were swell.
Oh, that's sweet of you, Conrad. I have a TL for you, too. I got a big thrill out of being Elaine Carsden to your Jack Pemberton these last 2 weeks.
Well, thanks.
Oh, but that isn't all. I not only like to play and like working with you, but I've become so enamored with Silver Theatre's products, First Love and International Sterling, that I'm going to put one of my Christmas checks to work getting some of each for my home.
Good. Well, that really is a TL. Now, tell us about that new picture you've been so busy on, Ida.
Oh, yes. Well, as a matter of fact, I've just completed 2 pretzels and Mrs. Porter stuff for Columbia. It was awfully nice.
Well, I hear that's quite a picture.
Yes, I must admit that Porter's Narrow stuff looks pretty good in the rushes, Conrad.
Well, that's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, Ida Lupino will soon be seen in the Columbia picture.
First thing on the last note from the snurg of the same name.
Well, I give up. What's the double talk for, Ida?
Tell you the truth, Conrad, the title hasn't been decided on yet.
Oh.
So I'm afraid you'll just have to say that I'll soon be seen in a new Columbia picture.
Well, thank you, Ida Lupino. We'll be looking for it. And I hope you'll be back with us soon on the Silver Theater.
I hope so, too.
Tune in next week for another Silver Theater performance starring Leslie Howard with Rita Johnson in an original story by True Boardman, A Study in Triangles. There'll be the music of Felix Mills, of course, and Conrad Nagel will direct. And now, before we leave you, on behalf of our sponsors, International Sterling Silver and 1847 Rogers Brothers Silver Plate, we'd like to wish all of our friends, both old and new, a happy and prosperous 1939. This is John Conte speaking.
Oh, Mr. Conte.
Yes?
Would you mind if I started 1939 by doing something on the radio that I've never done before?
Well, I guess not. What is it, Miss Lupino?
I'd like to be the one to say, this is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is Chesterton Radio, the true, good, and beautiful at chestertonradio.com.